Hi Good Ride fam, I'm Jordan Stone and I like to mix a little bit of the old with the new. Today we're going to be talking about the Nitro's Victoria. This thing's got all of them bells and whistles. Pro of this, it's very light, ultra light and super agile. It's quick to turn, snappy, very easy to kind of get back and forth and quick with the turns, and it's easy to ride for a full camber board. I was, however, able to kind of overpower this board during carving turns, and it lacked a little bit of dampness that I was looking for and often felt disconnected from the snow. Even though this has the same flex scale as the alternator and the Karma, so it actually did feel a lot softer than both of those boards, which I wasn't a huge fan of. The Victoria was tested in sequence with 3 other Nitro boards. It was the 3rd board that I rode directly following the Karma. It was ridden on mid to late spring conditions with some freeze-thaw groomers to slush and even some corn snow. I rode at their reference stance width, which is 19.5, and my favored stance width, and positive 18, -6 sort of directional stance. Now this board does feel like a twin. You could ride this very much ducked and it would be just as fine. It was ridden with the Solomon Dialogue boots in a men's size 7, which equates to a women's size 8, and the Trilogy bindings in size medium. Here at The Good Ride, we don't get paid to do these reviews. Everything that you're hearing from us is honest, objective opinions of what we think this board is, educated opinions about what this board is. But what affords us the ability to do that is our sponsor. This is all made possible by our sponsors, thanks to Blower out of Big Bear. Blower has been around selling snowboards almost as long as I've been on this planet. So I really appreciate any company that is going to be core, true to the bone when it comes to snowboarding. They have been supporting snowboarders longer than most resorts have been supporting snowboarders, so they are a great fit for us. So please go out there, support them. They have a wonderful online shop and in-store brick and mortar shop. The Victoria that I got on is actually the largest of the boards that I got on at a 152. 152 is kind of the sweet spot that I've been really enjoying. However, this board actually felt a little bit softer than the 49 and 48 that I got on with the other 2. The board comes in a 46, a 49, a 52, and a 55. This is because the weight ranges on this are much bigger. The 152 accounts for about 99 pounds to 140 pounds. If you're over that weight range, definitely jump up to the 55 or consider a board with a stiffer personality. The waist width on this is also pretty narrow, at a 152 at a 24.2, which accounts for a women's size 7. Something I noticed on this is that when I did have my binding on here and my size 8 boot, even with the binding set as far back as I could get on this setting, as far back, I did have a significant amount of toe drag. If you're a lady with a larger foot, consider looking at an option that's a little bit wider. The Victoria is a directional twin shape and has the same nose, same tail. It's essentially a true twin. However, it does have a 15mm setback stance. This was a little reminiscent of some late 90s popsicle stick shape, especially with this significant amount of camber. This has true tip to tail camber. I put this onto a flat surface, was actually a little concerned that this board would feel catchy because it seems really high. Couple this with that stiff flex of 7 out of 10 and I was certain it was going to be a hard ride. This could not be further from the truth. The board flexed easily under just my body weight, and once on snow, it actually felt quite stable. This board construction is made up of layers of carbon laminate and a Koroyd Powerlite core, which is a combination of wood and light plastic honeycomb structure. This is all designed to give this board a responsive yet ultralight feel. Now, given that this is a true twin shape with a slight setback on this, it really doesn't shout powder board to me. Because it is also tip to tail camber and there is not a lot of setback on this. At reference stance, which is set back literally, you get about 1.75 inches of extra nose. that can help a little bit. Now, if you set this all the way back to the furthest inserts, it's gonna widen your reference stance up to about 20.5 and only give you about 2.25 extra, so 2 inches of nose instead of 1.7. It's not a substantial amount of nose. I really wouldn't recommend this for powder conditions. The edge hold on this board was challenged by multiple variables. It lacked the ability to lock in on hard groomed terrain, and I had to resort to sort of skid turns to get a complete turn. Also experienced a complete loss of edge hold while trying to initiate a toe side carve. Now, I had ridden the Karma directly before this, which is a carving machine, so maybe it was muscle memory that I just sort of leaned into this to try to get that carve, but the tail end of the board actually released and tossed me straight onto my back. This incident caused me to slow down and really be deliberate with my turns while trying to avoid flexing too hard into the board. Again, this is pretty interesting given that this board has the same flex profile as the Karma, which is a carving dream, and the alternator. All right, let's talk about the Victoria's flex on this. So they do rank this at a 7 to 10. You're gonna see in Nitro boards, a lot of those women's aggressive, advanced to expert riding boards are gonna be at that 7 to 10. The flex is not the same across the board though. This is a 7 out of 10. This actually felt like the softest of the boards that I had at a 7 out of 10. You're gonna see on this that it just really bends. It really flexes through the whole thing. I did notice that the tail on this board and the nose on this board, because it's a true twin, were a little bit stiffer, but that midpoint right through the center of the board felt pretty soft. Now, the nice thing about this board, carbon. It's got carbon laminates in multiple places as well as a choroid, so it makes it very light and it makes it very poppy. Definitely playful, reactive, has that snappiness in the turns and during your jumping, ollieing, buttering. Now, interesting thing about the Nitro Victoria is that it does have a progressive side cut, and it actually has a pretty big side cut. It starts at 8.1 at the nose and tapers to a 7.3 at the tail. That's not a huge difference, and it kind of puts it at sort of that mid-radius side cut. This gives the board less of a catchy feeling in the nose and is meant for sort of carving turns. But again, I found this to be much quicker underfoot, which could have been because of the profile and how this board is made. That carbon really adds a lot of snappiness to the turns. This felt quick. The side cut radius does not suggest that as a quick turn. And then again, that edge hold of me trying to do a cross turn carve and it releasing makes me want to suggest that this board is quicker. It's faster underfoot. It's more like a playful twin than it is like a directional all mountain board. I was not able to get this on uneven snow as our conditions were rock hard, so my opinion on uneven snow is just based off of my understanding of the board. This board has a really interesting core. It has choroid in it, which is the same thing you're going to see in safety equipment like helmets. That choroid is designed to take impact. Couple that with that camber, that quickness under that foot, and a moderate amount of camber and stiffness, and I think this board actually would do pretty good in transitioning from groomed to off-groomed conditions. Obviously, icy conditions, super bumped out conditions are going to work you quite a bit. That choroid core also plays into the speed of this board. Because it absorbs so much of that sort of vibration that's underneath the board, it actually does feel pretty comfortable at speeds. Where I had an issue is that I didn't trust the edge hold. And because I didn't trust the edge hold, I wasn't willing to like open up and let myself kind of go for it. If that edge hold felt a little bit better, maybe if they put in a dual aggressive side cut, like I felt with the alternator, or even made a more significant progressive side cut, and I was able to kind of push through that tail without it totally washing out on me, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable taking this to speeds. Now, with that said, it does come with a sintered Speed Formula 2 base. This is the same base as an alternator. And with my experience with the alternator, it does require occasional weather-specific waxes to keep it going fast. Out of the box, the board felt okay. It glided well, it didn't feel horribly sticky, even with changing spring conditions, which, as you know, from one rent to the next can really impact your ability to go. If you're gonna spend the money on this board, please take care of it. Wax it, get into a tune shop from time to time, make sure that that edge is to your liking. Now, I think this board would really shine in a park setting, especially if you're riding switch. It rides like a twin. If you are hitting jumps, it's got those carbon laminates that make it super, super poppy. And even in a jib setting with rails, boxes, because this is that full camber and because it doesn't have a huge variation in that side cut, I think a slight detune on this, and this would be a great rail board. In the pipe, I think okay. I had not a great experience with the edge hold, and there's so much edge hold needed to get up the side walls of a pipe. I think that it'd be okay because it's light underfoot and it's easy to lift, so you'd be able to flip this around quickly. I'd be curious to see how it performed if the sidewalls of a pipe were actually ice. The board also butters great. It is pretty soft, it felt light, so I was able to really throw my weight into the nose and the tail of this and kind of flip it around. Overall, the Victoria from Nitro really was this happy blend between the old idea of a full camber true twin that I am so accustomed to from late 90s riding, and the new, the carbon, the Koroyd, all of this really detailed additions to the make of this board. It's quick, it's snappy to turn, and it's very ultralight underneath your foot. If you like that, if you like not feeling like there's something pulling you down, you're gonna really enjoy this board. If you're someone like me that likes a little bit of a heaviness, it gives you that security, like a security blanket on the run. Maybe look at something at a lower price point, maybe the alternator or your Karma for carving experience. Remember that this board is a full camber tip to tail, so it really is recommended for intermediate riders up to expert riders. If you like the Good Ride reviews, and especially if you like the women's reviews, please like and share. That's gonna help us get that out there, and I want nothing more than for women to feel empowered in their purchasing power. If you need advice, I'm here to help. Just follow the links and I'm happy to help in any way I can.